everyone, this is Tina with Healthy Cooking. I thought I'd come and share with you a St. Patty's recipe that I found. Most of us love potatoes, and I know our family does, so I thought I would try a Colcannon, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a potato dish that incorporates cabbage and kale and herbs and various other spices. Sounded very interesting, so I thought I'd give it a try. It is a vegan recipe, so instead of dicing the potatoes as the recipe calls for, I'm going to use my favorite kitchen tool, and I'm going to cut them up in the French fry cut with our number 3 cone, so that way it cuts it, as I said, into French fries, but it helps cook them properly. And I'm using it in our steam pan that has holes in it, as you can see, and this basically keeps you from having to steam your potatoes in water, and it doesn't take away all the nutrients. And I'm going to go ahead and do it with the peels on. So as you can see, it's in the French fry cut. I've had requests for the videos to be up a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. So that way, giving it a try, you need to tell me what you think, if this helps, so you can kind of see how I'm preparing it. It calls for 8 Yukon or yellow potatoes, so that's what I am processing right now. And did you know that potatoes have more potassium than a banana and more vitamin C than an orange? So that is great to know. And as you can see, my pan is filling up quite fast, so I may not end up doing all 8 potatoes, because with you cutting it in the French fry cut, it definitely stretches your vegetable and it gives you more out of your vegetables, so you're not needing as much. So I'm going to go ahead and stop at 5 potatoes because I'm not going to be able to fill any more in here. And what I'm going to do before I actually cook it, those of you that are diabetic, is I'm going to rinse the potatoes off. And what that does is that washes the starch away, about 80% of it. So those of us that are diabetic can enjoy our potatoes and not have to take in a lot of starch. So once I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put them on the stove and steam them. It usually takes maybe 10 minutes or so. Doesn't take that long at all to steam them. Medium high. You can afford to go a little bit higher if you like. And get those done, and then I'll share with you how I am sauteing the leeks. Now here you can see the pan of leeks that I was telling you about. I have no oil whatsoever in here. It is sauteing on its own. I don't need any salt. I usually season my salt after, or season my vegetables after I've sauteed them. But as you can see, there is no oil. This is the liquid from the leeks, and it will saute in its own juices. And boy, if you could smell the leeks. I've never honestly had leeks before. I've always used the smaller green onions for everything, so this might be a new vegetable for me. But as you can see, there is no oil, there's no water or anything, so I'm going to be able to get the full nutrients of the leeks with no toxins or anything in my food. You're not having to add any extra fat or anything to the meal. So this will be very healthy and very yummy. So that is the leeks for now. And I'll move on once we get the potatoes and stuff done. We'll put this together. We've got to cook down the cabbage and kale, and I'll come in and share that with you as we go through the steps. Hope you enjoy. Now I'm going to grate the cabbage. I've cut it in quarters so it's easier for me to process with the number 3 cone. And as you can tell, it comes out very easy. I'm making it smaller to mix well with the potatoes. But cabbage is very good for your digestive system. It's great for many cancers. Example of the prostate cancer. And we do keep the core in because it's got valuable enzymes in it. We don't cut that out of the cabbage. You're going to utilize the whole piece. And for this, we need about 4 cups of cabbage. And very easy to work with. Comes out very easily. I'll put this back here for smaller pieces. And we'll do the other. Cabbage is so versatile. Of course, the red one, with it being, a dark color, gives you more nutrients than the green, but they're both very good for you, and I highly recommend giving it a try. We eat probably more cabbage now than we ever have, trying to eat healthier and especially enjoying the benefits of what it provides for us and for our body. So it's worth giving it a try, and there's so many different ways to prepare cabbage. So that's about 4 cups. I've got to cut up some kale. So once the once the leeks are done, then we can put this in along with the kale, let it kale wilt, and we'll be on our way to putting everything together. Now, as you can see, the leeks have cooked and sauteed down, and as I told you before, there's no oil, no liquid. This is all from the leeks themselves. Look nice, don't they? So you're not having that added fat, and boy does it smell good. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in the cabbage to our dish. Let this cook down. My dish might be a little stuffed, but they will wilt. So will the leeks. Let me get that all in there. Let me get this in here, and I will put the leeks on top. Excuse me. Having trouble with the vegetables today. Put in the kale, and then once that has wilted, then we'll be able to have that all ready and done. And again, there's no water in the vegetables whatsoever, and this way it's all tucked in here, and it will cook on its own. And that is it for now until the kale has wilted and our potatoes done. We'll come back and we'll start putting this all together. So as you can see, the kale, the scallions, and the cabbage have kind of wilted like we need for the recipe, which is nice. Scallions are down there. As you can see, there's some caramelization going on. But again, no water, and we're getting the full nutrients of the vegetables in here. And our potatoes are done as well. So those are nice. I'm getting all steamed up here. Tender, so all you're doing is mashing them. So this makes it much easier for you to prep your potatoes and not having to kill your hands cutting them or anything like that. So it'll be very easy to mash. But doesn't that look yummy? So let me get the water drained off of the potatoes, and we'll start putting all this together, and we'll continue on. And for the potatoes, I should have corrected myself. I didn't have to drain them because it was already in a pan that had water underneath it. So the potatoes were not cooked in or soaked in water or boiled in water. They were basically steamed because the pan it was in had holes. So the hot water basically steamed them in order to retain all the nutrients in the potatoes. So now I've dumped the potatoes in a bowl. I've put some salt and pepper, and it calls for 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. But I chose to, I always like it because it gives it a little bit more of a cheesier flavor. And it's full of protein and everything, so I always have a tendency to add a little bit more. But I need to add some non-dairy milk. I usually end up using almond milk, so I'll use a cup of that. I'll mash these potatoes, and then I will fold in the leeks, kale, and the cabbage. And then we'll have all this together and top it off with some parsley. Now here's the potatoes all mashed up, ready to go. And it was very easy since they were steamed instead of boiled, and it only took maybe 10 minutes to cook them. And I ended up cooking all 8 of the potatoes. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix in the cabbage, leeks, and the kale as the recipe calls for. And boy, I wish y'all could smell it. It smells yummy. Very yummy, yummy, yummy. And as you can see the caramelized leeks on top. And then mix this together. This is going to be interesting. I've never had this before, so I'm kind of excited to try it and actually have the family try it. So never be afraid to try a new recipe. Might find out that you really like it and it's a new twist on potatoes. So that's how simple the recipe is. You can add some more salt and pepper to your liking. I use fine salt, and then more pepper. If you want a little more nutritional yeast, you can certainly do that. It's not going to hurt anything as far as some great protein added to the dish. And mix all that in. But this looks like a yummy dish to share with others. Very much of a comfort food is what it looks like to me. And then you can plate it. Doesn't that look yummy? Bon appetit!